Welcome to the Housing Choice Voucher Program briefing. Here are some facts about NYCHA. The New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA, or the Authority, provides affordable housing to 535,686 authorized residents, in over 177,569 apartments, within 335 developments through public housing, Section 8, and PACT RAD programs. The average Section 8 household income is $18,505. The average Section 8 household rent is $371. There are currently 92,595 Section 8 families and 24,681 Section 8 landlords. The vision of NYCHA is to provide safe, clean, and connected communities. Attention! COVID-19 pandemic guidance. Walk-in centers are open to the public and are currently appointment only, except for the elderly and/or disabled. You can make an appointment on the self-service portal. No appointments are needed to drop off documents. However, appointments must be scheduled for all other reasons by calling the NYCHA Customer Contact Center or visiting on.nyc.gov/NYCHA-CCC-APPT. Contact us by phone. Call the NYCHA Customer Contact Center at 718-707-7771, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., or send an email to s8.info@nycha.nyc.gov. Before we get started, write down any questions that you may have. You may call the Customer Contact Center at 718-707-7771, Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. for clarification. Please email general questions to s8.info@nycha.nyc.gov. Today we will walk you through the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We will review the responsibilities of New York City Housing Authority, the family, and the owner or landlord under the program, the Housing Choice Voucher, occupancy and payment standards, your housing choice, housing quality standards, HQS, inspection requirements, the next steps after finding the right unit and reviewing the rental packet, and how to contact NYCHA. We will now present an overview of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The Housing Choice Voucher Program is a federally funded program that provides rental assistance to eligible families. Eligibility is based on family income and family size. NYCHA's rent subsidy is paid directly to the owner, and the family pays their portion to the owner as well. The unit must be inspected prior to moving in, and regular inspections are required thereafter. Now, we will discuss the responsibilities of NYCHA, the family, and the owner. NYCHA's responsibilities. In administering the Housing Choice Voucher Program, NYCHA must explain rules and regulations of the HCV program, issue vouchers and pay housing assistance payment, HAP, to the owner on behalf of the voucher holder, ensure all units in the program meet housing quality standards, HQS, by conducting anew rental, regular, special, and quality control inspections. Conduct an annual review of the family's income and composition information to determine continued eligibility. Conduct a rent reasonableness evaluation to ensure the proposed contract rent the owner is requesting is reasonable. The family's responsibilities. It is the family's responsibility to find a vacant unit, or an available Section 8 unit. The owner cannot be an immediate family member unless a reasonable accommodation is approved by NYCHA. The family will sign a private lease agreement with the owner once the unit passes inspection and you receive a move-in letter and comply with lease terms. The family will submit complete, accurate, and timely information and documentation to NYCHA. The family must comply with the annual review of family income and composition information, for example, marriages, births, adoptions, deaths, etc. This helps NYCHA determine a tenant's continued eligibility. The family must also comply with requests for additional information, and cooperate with NYCHA for all inspections. The family must alert NYCHA and the owner if they wish to terminate the lease and must do so before moving out. The family must pay for any utilities the owner is not responsible for, and maintain any appliances the owner is not required to provide. The family must ensure that housing quality standards, HQS, are maintained, and if there is a breach it must be reported to NYCHA. Here are some tips when searching for a place to live. Do not give the voucher to anyone, including the owner, agent, or property manager. Confirm with the landlord that the apartment will meet the Housing Quality Standards, HQS, and pass initial inspection. Please note, the HCV program does not require the use of a broker to find an apartment. The owner's responsibilities. It is the responsibility of the owner to sign and comply with the Housing Assistance Payment, HAP, contract and local housing laws. Screen the family before executing the lease and comply with equal opportunity requirements. Maintain the dwelling unit in accordance with HQS. Collect the share of the rent and do not request additional rent or side payments of any kind. Comply with all terms of the lease and state/landlord-tenant law. It is the responsibility of the owner to follow the federal laws which prohibit discrimination against an individual or family. Please note, landlords have to accept your government-provided rental assistance. If you receive Section 8, a landlord who owns a building with 6 or more units must accept that rental assistance. It is the responsibility of the owner to contact NYCHA when there is an unauthorized family move or a deceased tenant. And pay for utilities and services, unless paid for by the family under the lease. The partnership between the tenant, NYCHA, and the owner. This triangle illustrates the partnership between the tenant, NYCHA, and the owner. The document binding the tenant and NYCHA is the HCV Section 8 voucher. The tenant must comply with all family obligations, rules and regulations to remain enrolled in the program. The document binding NYCHA and the owner is the Housing Assistance Payment Contract. The owner must also cooperate with the rules and regulations of the program to continue to receive payments. Finally, the document binding the owner and the tenant is the lease agreement, which is a contract between the tenant and the owner. We will now review the Housing Choice Voucher. What is a Housing Choice Voucher? The Housing Choice Voucher is the document that authorizes you to search for an eligible Section 8 unit. The document indicates the number of bedrooms the family is entitled to, the issue date of the voucher expiration date, and the family responsibilities. The voucher is valid for 120 days after the issuance date. NYCHA may extend this timeframe for good cause, such as an approved reasonable accommodation request. Reasonable accommodations can be filed online via NYCHA's tenant self-service portal. If a reasonable accommodation is granted, the voucher will be extended 60 days. Please note, if you are moving in from another public housing authority, your voucher expiration date will automatically be extended 30 days from the initial voucher expiration date. Suspension of the term of the voucher. During the initial or extended term of the voucher, the family is required to submit a request for tenancy approval, Form HUD 52517, within 120 days. Once the form is submitted, the clock on the 120 days is stopped. NYCHA will then notify the family on whether the assisted tenancy has been approved or denied. If denied, the suspension is lifted and the timeline resumes. This applies to all families who are leasing a unit. The suspension applies even if a family that submits a request for tenancy approval decides to cancel such request. In such cases, the suspension ends when the PHA learns of the cancellation. Under portability procedures, the requirement to suspend the term of the voucher applies to the receiving PHA only. Housing choice vouchers are not for sale. HCV, Section 8 vouchers are not for sale. If anyone offers to sell or process a Section 8 voucher for you, email the NYCHA Inspector General's office at ig@nycha.nyc.gov to report it. You should not give your voucher to anyone, including the owner or the broker. This is what your voucher will look like. It will include your voucher number, unit size, which is the number of bedrooms you are eligible for, today's date, and an expiration date, which is 120 days from your voucher issuance date. Now we will discuss the occupancy and payment standards. Voucher apartment sizes are determined by who is a member of your household. The number of people equals set number of bedrooms. Applicants may rent a unit with more bedrooms if the rent is equal to or lower than their voucher payment standard. Applicants may rent a smaller unit than their voucher size, and NYCHA will pay the subsidy based on the payment standard of the smaller apartment. Applicants and participants with pregnant members may be eligible for an increased voucher size. Occupancy standards are based on family composition. You can try to find a larger apartment, as long as it is within the voucher payment standard. Applicants and participants with pregnant household members may be eligible for an increased voucher size, dependent upon total family composition, as stated in the HCVP occupancy chart. NYCHA payment standards. NYCHA sets its payment standards based on HUD Fair Market Rents, FMRs. Payment standards set the maximum monthly housing assistance payment, HAP, for the family, before deducting the total tenant payment by the family. Current NYCHA payment standards. Payment standards matter as this is the maximum monthly subsidy NYCHA will pay for a unit. The table specifies the current NYCHA payment standards, effective June 1, 2022, for new rentals, transfers, and recertification. NYCHA utility allowances. For tenants who are responsible for paying their utilities, NYCHA gives a utility allowance. This table shows the cooking gas and electric allowance. Gross rent, the total cost of housing, is calculated by adding the rent paid and the utility allowance for the unit. If the utilities are included in the rent to owner and gross rent will be the same number. This table shows the oil heat and hot water allowances. This table shows the gas heat and hot water allowances. This table shows the electric heat, hot water, and electric cooking range allowances. Please note, the allowance includes electric and use of the electric stove. The 40% rule. The 40% rule ensures the affordability of a new rental. The rule ensures affordability for new admissions and moves when the gross, total, rent exceeds the payment standard. This is to protect the tenant. You are permitted to rent an apartment that exceeds the payment standard. However, your share of the rent will be 30% of the adjusted gross income plus any amount that exceeds the payment standard. NYCHA will not approve your Section 8 rental if your share of the rent is over 40% of your gross adjusted income. Upon an initial lease up, the tenant is prohibited from paying more than 40% of their annual income towards rent. Now we will review your housing choices. Moving within New York City. Voucher holders have the option of living anywhere in the 5 boroughs of New York City. First-time Section 8 voucher holders have the option of remaining in their unit, provided it meets the housing quality standards, and the rent is reasonable. The rent does not need to be within the payment standard to be an approved unit. The rent may exceed the standard but must be affordable. Submit transfer request. NYCHA reviews your transfer request. Search for unit. Vouchers are active for 120 days after issuance unless NYCHA grants an extension. Return the briefing package. Return your briefing package to your nearest walk-in center. NYCHA inspects the unit. Upon approval of the briefing package, the owner must call the customer contact center to schedule an inspection of the new unit. Move in. If the unit passes inspection, NYCHA will issue a move-in letter authorizing you to move into your new unit. Portability. Portability refers to the process through which you and your family can transfer or port out of your Section 8 voucher to a location outside of the NYCHA jurisdiction. Here is the portability process. Submit port-out transfer request. NYCHA determines eligibility and confirms that you are in good standing. NYCHA reviews your port-out transfer request. NYCHA sends portability request. NYCHA will forward your port-out transfer request to the PHA you choose. NYCHA will provide you with the contact information for the receiving PHA. Search for a unit. The receiving PHA will issue a voucher so you can start searching for an apartment in your desired area. You must find a new unit within the terms specified by the receiving PHA's voucher. Move in. The receiving PHA will notify you of your move-in date. When you receive approval to move in, you must notify NYCHA. Portability, moving outside the New York City area. Moving outside the New York City area is called portability. Voucher holders have the opportunity to live anywhere in the U.S., Puerto Rico, or the U.S. Virgin Islands as long as there is a housing choice voucher program administered in that area. VASH program participants, contact your Veterans Affairs caseworker for additional rules on portability. To port your voucher, you must. Before moving to another jurisdiction, you must submit the voucher holder request for portability form and receive approval for your request. This process can be initiated online, tenant self-service portal. Advise NYCHA at least 2 months before your Section 8 voucher expires. If you are already a Section 8 participant with an open transfer request, you must cancel your transfer request and ask for a portability transfer. Obtain the name, address, telephone and fax number, and contact person of the housing authority, and submit it to NYCHA. NYCHA will provide this information to you if needed. Things to keep in mind when porting. The advantages of portability allow families the flexibility to relocate with assistance. However, you should familiarize yourself with your potential location before deciding to move there. Some consider relocating for a new job or school, proximity to other family members, increased choices for a home, etc. Comply with the rules and regulations of the receiving housing authority, which may differ from NYCHA. Portability procedures in the new jurisdiction could be different from NYCHA's. It is important to seek information and pay close attention to requirements at both PHAs. Policies applicable under portability. Once you port out, the Receiving Public Housing Authority, PHA, sets the standards for the program. The receiving, PHA, will set and manage the income limit applicable to the family, voucher extensions available for searchers, voucher payment standards, suspension of voucher term after submission of request for tenancy approval, policies and procedures related to tenancy, INS verification of citizenship or requests for criminal background checks where applicable, executing the first lease under the voucher, subsidy standards. Searching for a unit. Factors to consider. Searching for housing in low poverty areas will help you gain access to higher quality housing, improved employment opportunities, playgrounds and better schools, community and educational resources, shopping and public transportation. New York City Census Tracts. For your reference, this is a map showing New York City's population below poverty by census tract. This map is also included in your briefing packet. NYCHA Housing Opportunities Map. The NYCHA Housing Opportunities Map is a resource that Section 8 voucher holders can use to find rental listings, job opportunities, schools, transportation, and other services in low-poverty neighborhoods. The map can be accessed on NYCHA's Section 8 Tenant Self-Service Portal. https://selfserve.nycha.info/ Find an available Section 8 unit. There are many resources online that can be used to search for available units. Log on to the Tenant Self-Service Portal to view exclusive Section 8 listings from owners registered with NYCHA. Screening the owner. Make sure to find out all the information you may need before signing a lease. These are suggested questions to ask the owner or broker before renting from them. What is the monthly rent for the unit? Have you rented with Section 8 before? Have you rented this unit with Section 8 before? Will the rent include utilities, and if so, which are included, and which am I responsible for? Are there any fees associated with moving, such as broker fees or security deposits? Fair housing and equal opportunity. If you feel you have been discriminated against in your housing search, it is a violation of New York City Local Law 10 for an owner of a building with 6 or more units to refuse to rent to a Section 8 voucher holder. The Fair Housing Act of 1968, New York State and city human rights laws prohibit discrimination in all aspects of housing based on age, race, color, creed, religion, national origin, gender identity, sex, disability, pregnancy, sexual orientation, marital/partnership status, familial status, families with children under the age of 18 or families who are pregnant/adopting/otherwise securing legal custody of an individual under 18 years of age, source of income, occupation, immigration status, presence of children, status as a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault or stalking. File a complaint with the Department of Equal Opportunity at 212-306-4468. Or, you may contact the New York City Commission on Human Rights, the New York State Division of Human Rights, and/or the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Please note that NYCHA will provide the voucher holder with a list of outside agencies with whom they can file claims. Access for persons with limited English proficiency. NYCHA provides language assistance to limited English proficiency persons to promote their meaningful access to NYCHA's programs and activities, in accordance with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Notice entitled, Final Guidance to Federal Financial Assistance Recipients Regarding Title V Prohibition Against National Origin Discrimination Affecting Limited English Proficient, LEP, persons, published in the Federal Register at 72 Fed. Reg. 2732, January 22, 2007. NYCHA has a standard procedure implementing the HUD guidance regarding language assistance, which applies to the HCVP. Reasonable accommodations. A reasonable accommodation in housing is a change or modification that provides a qualified individual an equal opportunity to participate in, or benefit from, a program or activity. Some examples of who qualify include those with medical or chronic health issues, mobility impairments, physical disabilities, visual impairments, etc. Some types of reasonable accommodations include transfer to a more accessible unit, apartment modifications, ramps, lower cabinets, etc. Policies related to persons with disabilities. NYCHA will make reasonable accommodation to persons with disabilities to ensure that they may fully access and use the HCVP and related services. NYCHA will provide an opportunity for an applicant or participant to request an accommodation on the application and other forms. This policy is intended to afford persons with disabilities equal opportunity to obtain the same results and gain the same benefits as those who do not have disabilities, and is applicable to all situations described in this plan. The individual making the request must meet requirements outlined in the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the New York State and New York City human rights laws. NYCHA will review all requests, and will make a determination, based on the information provided. In accordance with Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act, if the need for the accommodation is not readily apparent, the family must explain the relationship between the requested accommodation and the disability. In order for NYCHA to approve a request for reasonable accommodation, the applicant or participant may be required to submit documentation from a medical professional to support the request. NYCHA may deny the request if it will cause an undue financial or administrative burden or will change the fundamental nature of the program. NYCHA will notify applicants and participants in writing if it denies the request. Violence Against Women Act. The Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, is a federal law providing protections for applicants, tenants, and families assisted in the Section 8, public housing, and other HUD-funded programs. Under VAWA, victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking may not be denied admission to, denied assistance under, terminated from participation in, or evicted from Section 8 assisted housing on the basis of or as a direct result of the fact that the applicant or participant is or has been a VAWA victim. Under the regulations, NYCHA can terminate HCVP assistance to those who commit acts of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking against household members. VAWA also enables owners to evict abusers by bifurcating a lease to remove a person who has committed the abuse. The regulations also permit NYCHA to terminate HCVP assistance to VAWA victims, or owners to evict VAWA victims, on independent grounds unrelated to their status as VAWA victims. Banned owners. This table represents the names of individuals or management firms/entities that NYCHA cannot engage in business with. Therefore, when searching for a unit, please do not attempt to rent a unit in buildings owned or managed by any of these entities. Please call the Customer Contact Center at 718-707-7771 with any questions about this list. We will now discuss Housing Quality Standard requirements. What are Housing Quality Standards, HQS? The Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, established housing quality standards to define the minimum criteria for safe housing. Housing quality standards require that every Section 8 unit have heat, hot and cold water, and an operable window in each living room and bedroom. In addition, all units must have a private bathroom and a fully equipped kitchen. However, there are exceptions. A private bathroom and kitchen is not required if a participant is residing in a single-room occupancy unit. All SROs may not have a private bathroom and kitchen for residents. All units receiving Section 8 assistance must meet HUD-established housing quality standards, HQS, before move-in and throughout the assisted tenancy. Non-life-threatening provision for the HQS inspection process. NYCHA adopted the non-life-threatening, NLT, provision from PIH, Notice 2017-20, HA, effective September 1, 2018, for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. With this provision, NYCHA updated its definition of life-threatening, LT, violations and may approve the rental of a unit that fails for non-life-threatening conditions with the voucher holder's consent. Here is the updated list of 24-hour life-threatening violations. Gas, natural or liquid petroleum, leak or fumes. Electrical hazards that could result in shock or fire. Inoperable or missing smoke detector. Interior air quality, missing or non-functioning carbon monoxide detector. Gas/oil-fired water heater or heating, ventilation or cooling system with missing, damaged, improper or misaligned chimney or venting. Lack of alternative means of exit in case of fire or blocked egress. Other interior hazards include Deteriorated paint surfaces as defined by 24 CFR 35.110 in a unit built before 1978 that is to be occupied by a family with a child under 6 years of age, and any other condition subsequently identified by HUD as LT in a notice published in the Federal Register. Any other condition identified by the administering PHA as life-threatening in the PHA's administrative plan prior to April 18, 2017. These conditions include building in imminent danger of collapse, illegal window gates on fire escapes. About non-life-threatening, NLT, provision for the HQS inspection process. All apartments subsidized under the Section 8 program must meet Federal Housing Quality Standards, HQS. NYCHA will not approve a unit that fails for any life-threatening conditions. However, if the unit fails the HQS inspection for non-life-threatening, NLT, condition only, you will have the following options. Wait until repairs are made. Continue your housing search. Accept the unit with NLT conditions. NYCHA will notify you if the unit fails the HQS inspection for NLT conditions only. You will have the opportunity to accept the unit with the NLT conditions. If you accept the unit with NLT conditions, please note that the owner has 30 calendar days from the date of the inspection to satisfactorily complete the repairs. If the owner fails to make the necessary repairs within 30 calendar days, NYCHA will issue a transfer voucher to you. You will need to find another apartment and submit a completed rental packet before the transfer voucher expires to receive Section 8 assistance. Top 5 reasons units fail HQS inspections. To expedite your move, it is important that the unit must be in move-in condition prior to the HQS inspection. These are the top reasons units fail housing quality standards inspections. Electrical hazards. Missing ground fault circuit interrupter. Exposed wires. Loose or broken light fixtures. Window conditions. Improperly installed/missing window guards. Incorrect screws used to install the guards, window broken, window does not stay up. Ceiling and floor conditions. Severely cracked or damaged ceiling, missing or damaged ceiling or floor tiles, exposed subfloor, uneven floor, tripping hazards. Smoke/carbon monoxide detectors. Missing batteries, missing detector, installed in the wrong location. Kitchen/bathroom sink, leaking faucet, leaking pipes under sink, water temperature is under 110 degrees Fahrenheit or over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, hot and cold reversed. Note, if the unit fails for new rental or transfer HQS inspections, NYCHA may authorize the rental of a unit, if it fails for non-life-threatening, NLT, conditions only. Lead-based paint hazards, what you need to know. Here's what you need to know about lead-based paint. Buildings built before 1978 may contain lead-based paint. An owner must disclose to you the presence of any lead-based paint in the unit. Lead found in paint, paint chips, and dust may pose serious health hazards, especially to young children. More information is provided in the Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home booklet in your packet. This section will review the next steps after finding the right unit. After finding the right unit. Rental packet review. NYCHA will review and verify all information submitted. If the packet is complete, NYCHA will move forward with processing your request. Inspection of the rental unit. A NYCHA representative will contact the owner regarding scheduling the apartment inspection. If the unit or building fail inspection, NYCHA will notify the owner. The owner will have the opportunity to complete the necessary repairs. The owner will call the CCC to schedule a re-inspection once repairs are completed. NYCHA will authorize you to move in. If the unit passes inspection, and all required documentation has been reviewed and approved, NYCHA will contact your owner to sign a HAP contract. After NYCHA has executed the HAP contract, your approval letter to move in will be emailed to you. Only after you receive the move-in letter, you may move into the apartment. The letter will inform you of your share of the rent and NYCHA's share of the rent. Move into the unit. Move into the unit and comply with tenancy requirements. Rental packets will be accepted via email at s8.rtu@nycha.nyc.gov. NYCHA walk-in centers are open to the public. No appointments are needed to drop off documents. However, appointments must be scheduled for all other reasons by calling the NYCHA Customer Contact Center or visiting on.nyc.gov/NYCHA-CCC-APPT. Annual requirements for HCV participants. It is required to complete and submit the affidavit of income for all household members annually. This includes submitting any supporting verification, pay stubs, receipts, etc. It is required to provide access to NYCHA and HUD inspectors to inspect your unit. It is required to obtain permission from both NYCHA and your owner when adding new members to your household. Exceptions include births, adoptions, and court-awarded custody. Note: NYCHA performs criminal background and sex offender checks on all new household members 16 years of age and older. Remain in good standing. You can remain in good standing as follows. Comply with program requirements, including completing your annual recertification on time, allowing access to your unit for HQS inspections, and if necessary, allowing access to the owner for repairs. Do not allow unauthorized persons to reside in your unit. Do not sublease the unit or a room in the unit. Do not use or possess illegal controlled substances. Do not commit violent crimes. Do not fail to report all household income and assets. Do not submit false statements and documents to NYCHA. Do not threaten NYCHA personnel. Do not vacate the unit without first notifying NYCHA. We will now review the applicant/tenant documents for the rental packet. Online applicant and tenant rental packet. NYCHA is now accepting the rental packet documents electronically. Eligible applicants and tenants will not be issued a paper rental packet for the owner to complete. Instead, those eligible applicants and tenants will be issued a voucher PIN letter which will contain a PIN number for the owner to complete the rental packet on the owner extranet. The voucher PIN letter will also instruct applicants and tenants on how to review and approve the rental packet documents on the tenant self-service portal. Note: if the applicant, tenant or the owner requires a paper rental packet, please call the CCC or visit the walk-in center nearest you. After finding the right unit and submitting the rental packet online, bring the voucher PIN letter and a copy of the voucher to the owner. After the owner submits the rental documents online, the applicant should log into tenant self-service portal. Click the rental/transfer voucher status tab on the portal and review the documents submitted by the owner. At the bottom of the screen, the applicant/tenant must sign the document electronically. We will now review owner rental documents from the rental packet. The request for tenancy approval document. This is the request for tenancy approval document. The owner has to complete this form. It must be signed by the owner and participant. In Box 3, the owner must enter the lease start and end dates, but does not have to submit a copy of the lease. Box 4 must include the exact number of bedrooms in the unit, and, if built after 1937, a current certificate of occupancy is required in Box 5. In the same document, the owner must also specify fuel type and who pays the utilities. Both the owner and tenant must sign on page 4 of the request for tenancy approval document. W9, Request for Taxpayer Identification Number and Certification. This is an example of the W9, Request for Taxpayer ID Number and Certification. A post office box address cannot be used for this form. Section 8 Property Owner Registration Form. This is an example of the Section 8 Property Owner Registration Form. In this document, the owner enters information about the tenant, building, dwelling unit and ownership information. It is important that the exact legal name of the owner is the same as the name that appears on the deed. The owner may enter a physical address or a post office box address. Section 8 Property Owner Registration Form. Page 5 of the Section 8 Property Owner Registration Form includes payment method, for new enrollments only. New owners are required to complete this form. Disclosure of information on lead-based paint, and/or lead-based paint hazards. This is page 1 of the Disclosure of Information on Lead-Based Paint and/or Lead-Based Paint Hazards form. This is page 2 of the Disclosure of Information on Lead-Based Paint and/or Lead-Based Paint Hazards form. Section 8 Property Owner Documents. The applicant or tenant must log into the NYCHA Tenant Self-Service Portal at https://selfserve.nycha.info/ to view the property owner documents. You must print these 4 documents for the owner and you to complete. A Section 8 Property Owner Registration Form. A request for taxpayer ID number and certification for the owner. A request for tenancy approval. This form requires both tenant and owner signatures. A disclosure of information on lead-based paint and/or lead-based paint hazards, which require both tenant and owner signatures. You do not have a printer, you can print at the CCC. In addition, the owner must submit the following documents. If your unit is rent stabilized, a copy of the previous lease or division of housing and community renewal form. If the unit is built after 1937, another required document is the Certificate of Occupancy or CO. If a certificate of occupancy is not available, a letter of no objection from the Department of Buildings must be submitted. In addition, a copy of the deed must be submitted. If the deed is unrecorded, the owner must also submit a letter from the closing attorney. Certain exceptions apply. Please refer to the Rental Packet Checklist, NYCHA Form 059.132, in your briefing packet for a complete list of requirements. Section 8 Tenant Documents. You must provide the following documents listed below if you would like to add a member to your household. Third-party verification, consent to release information. This form must be signed by all household members 18 years of age or older. Debts owed and terminations. This form must be signed by all household members 18 years of age or older. Declaration of citizenship status. Copy of the birth certificate. Copy of the Social Security card or alien registration card or I-94 number. Proof of income, assets, and expenses. Returning the rental packet. You or the property owner must return your paper rental packet prior to the voucher expiration date via email to s8.rtu@nycha.nyc.gov. The owner must complete all required documents and send the PDF documents via email to s8.rtu@nycha.nyc.gov. 2. At the walk-in center. The voucher holder/owner also can submit the completed rental documents at the nearest walk-in center. Returning the rental packet. When returning your rental packet, keep the following tips in mind. Return the packet with all pages together. Do not use whiteout on the forms. If you need a new form, print out a new one. Do not cross out or draw lines on the documents. Only write in the boxes on the forms. You may only submit one request for tenancy approval at a time. Submitting a transfer request online. You may submit a request for transfer online using the tenant self-service portal after you have resided in the unit for a year. After submission of the transfer request, you will receive a transfer approval letter by email. Log back into the tenant self-service portal. You must sign the voucher before you give it to the owner and submit a copy of the voucher with the rental package. Go to the Lease Up Documents tab to view rental documents. Click on the Rental/Transfer Voucher Status tab. Click on I confirm, and type your name. Then click Submit. The voucher and the PIN letter will be available to print. If you need assistance, contact NYCHA. We're open 24/7 online. Tenant Self-Service Portal. Section 8 Tenants and applicants can access information about their case/application online via the Tenant Self-Service Portal. To use the portal, you must be listed as the head of household. Having a valid email address is highly recommended but not required. New users will be prompted to create a unique username and password to log in. To access the Tenant Self-Service Portal. If you are not registered in the Tenant Self-Service Portal, please follow the step-by-step instructions on the voucher PIN letter. If you are already registered, go to NYCHA's Section 8 Tenant Self-Service Portal, https://selfserve.nycha.info/. Registered Section 8 voucher holders may use the portal to view basic case information, complete their annual recertification and upload supporting documents, request an interim recertification and upload supporting documents, search for available Section 8 units, view their inspection date and reschedule if necessary, up to one time, request a special inspection, request a reasonable accommodation, request a 5-borough or portability transfer. Contact us by phone. Call the Customer Contact Center, CCC, Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. at 718-707-7771 if you need to request a reasonable accommodation. Update your personal information, email address, telephone number, mailing address, etc. Have your owner schedule an inspection. Communicate changes in your tenancy. Contact us with Section 8 questions. Call the Customer Contact Center at 718-707-7771, Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Or by email at s8.info@nycha.nyc.gov. To access the portal, go to NYCHA's Section 8 Tenant Self-Service Portal at https://selfserve.nycha.info/